After 13 years behind bars over allegations of conspiracy and murder of Alhaji Kudirat Abiola, former Chief Security Officer Major Hamza Al-Mustapha and his co-accused Alhaji Lateef Shofalan will tomorrow know if they will be set free or remain in prison. Last November, Justice Mojisola Dada of the Lagos High Court sitting in Igboshire fixed Monday the 30th of January 2012 as judgment after listening to final addresses of counsel in the matter. In this next report, our judiciary correspondent Shola Shiele takes a look at the twists and turns in the case ahead of the court's verdict.
The trial, which has been described by many as the longest in the history of Nigeria, started way back in October 1999 before a Lagos magistrate court. Shortly after, it was transferred to the Lagos High Court, both courts sitting in Ikeja. 4 men were initially arraigned on the 2-count charge of conspiracy to murder and the murder of Alhaja Kudirat Abiola, the wife of late Chief Moshood Abiola, who is widely believed to have won perhaps Nigeria's freest and fairest elections of June 12, 1993. The men were Major Hamza Al-Mustapha, the Chief Security Officer to late Head of State General Sani Abacha, his son Mohammed Abacha, Alhaji Lateef Shofalan, believed then to be an aide to the family of the late Abiolas, and CSP Rabo Lawal, a police officer and head of the mobile unit attached to the presidential villa at that time. The men were arraigned before a former Chief Judge of the Lagos High Court, Justice Ade Alabi. 2 years after that arraignment, Mohammed Abacha was set free on an appeal at the Supreme Court for lack of sufficient evidence to link him with the crime. And 12 years later, in 2011, CSP Rabo Lawal was also discharged for the same reason by Justice Mojisola Dada, who inherited the case much later. Justice Ade Alabi had to hands off the case when one of the accused persons, Major Al-Mustapha, wrote a petition to the National Judicial Council alleging that the judge demanded a bribe of $10 million from him and his other co-accused. This was 3 years after arraignment and after substantial progress had been made in the case, as the court had listened to the testimony of 7 witnesses. These allegations stalled the trial, and eventually the NJC panel set up to investigate the allegations could find no proof to indict Justice Alabi. The allegations were considered baseless and made in bad faith to stall the trial and bring the judiciary into disrepute. Justice Alabi's attempts to continue with the trial were further frustrated by another application filed by Major Al-Mustapha, accusing the judge, this time of likely bias. At this point, the judge simply recused himself, and 5 years after arraignment, trial had to start all over again by another judge. In that same year, 2004, just before a fresh trial could commence, operatives of the Directorate of Military Intelligence (DMI) swooped on the Kirikiri Maximum Prison and forcibly removed Al-Mustapha from his cell, in a move the then spokesperson to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Mrs. Oluremi Oyo, described as a breach of security by some military personnel. Major Al-Mustapha was then arraigned by the SSS before a federal high court and charged with planning a coup. Though he was later set free for lack of evidence to prove the charge, a lot of time had been lost as regards proving the allegations of the murder of late Kudirat Abiola. It was 4 years after he was released in 2008 that the case ended up before Justice Mojisola Dada. After several twists and turns, judgment is finally here. The prosecution had contended that there is enough circumstantial evidence linking the 2 accused persons left to the commission of conspiracy and murder of late Kudirat. The defense on its part held that the testimony of the prosecution's star witness, Sergeant Barnabas Jabila, popularly known as Rogers, and Mohammed Abdul, popularly known as Katako, cannot be relied on, as they were merely tutored by the prosecution to secure their own release and implicate the accused. The prosecution has also asked the court to take judicial notice of the fact that the Abacha government for whom Major Al-Mustapha worked was notorious for using vicious means to destroy its opponents. Which submissions does the court believe? Will it be freedom for Al-Mustapha on Monday the 30th of January 2012? Or will he and his co-accused get the death sentence, which is the maximum punishment prescribed for the charges? Or perhaps life imprisonment if they are convicted of a lesser offense, say manslaughter? And for the families and friends of late Kudirat Abiola, Will it be closure or will it be open-ended? Justice Mojisola Dada is expected to provide answers in less than 24 hours. Shola Shoyele, Channels Television News.